Hi there, this is Andrew with Memberium. Today we have a really special treat for you. We're joined by Megan Harrison from Megan Harrison Consulting. She's going to be giving us an inside look at a course she recently helped build called the Knowledge Business Blueprint with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And for those of you who don't know Megan, Megan's an experienced marketing consultant, expert online strategist, and specializes in creating online courses and membership sites that position her clients as industry leaders. She's the founder of Megan Harrison Consulting and has built courses for some of the world's top internet marketers, such as Ryan Levesque, Joe McCormack from the Brief Lab, and lots of other thought leaders over the years. Most recently, she built the Knowledge Business Blueprint course with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. She's going to give us an inside look at that today, which we're super excited about. Megan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're really glad for you to show us the site. And before we dive in and talk about anything about the course or the launch, I just wanted to quickly go over some of the results that this launch generated, just so everybody can kind of understand the scale of it. And so I'm going to quote your site here. It mentions that this launch gained over 16,000 customers and generated over $33 million in sales in less than 2 weeks.
That is accurate. That's crazy, but true.
Yeah, so I guess, the amount of impact that course had and what it generated in that short amount of time is pretty amazing. Are there any other specifics that you could talk about in terms of results generated from the launch?
Those are like the big stats, like the wow numbers. Besides that, they've recently gone evergreen, and I don't have the statistics on it, like hard numbers, but I know that's doing really well. So Dean is like a marketing, like he's obsessed with like really tweaking and like getting things just really dialed in. So I know that's something that their entire team is working on, is continually like looking at like how many people they're reaching, what the conversion rates are, and it's doing like better and better by the day. So I'll have to get some more details on how that's doing, but really amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. So throughout the rest of this interview, Megan's going to be giving us an inside look at how the Knowledge Business Blueprint course was built. She's going to show us some of the things that they learned throughout the whole process and how you can apply some of these same lessons to your own course or membership site. But before we dive in and talk about any of that, would you be able to tell me a little bit about your business, how you got started, and how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, I'd love to. So that's one of the reasons why this was like such a dream come true project for me to work on, is because I honestly don't think I would have started my business if it wasn't for Tony Robbins. So it just really came full circle. It was like 6 years ago when after I went to a UPW, Unleash the Power Within seminar from a Tony Robbins event, that I gave myself 6 months to start my business. And I had absolutely like zero idea what it was that I was going to do. But it was almost 6 months to the day after leaving that event that I put my resignation in from hospital administration. So it was really just like surreal how your subconscious mind just continued to work towards that goal, because it wasn't a hard deadline that I had set, like this is the date. I actually kind of forgot about saying that until it was a year later when I realized, when I was like writing a blog post on it, I'm like, that is crazy. That almost exactly 6 months when I said I give myself 6 months to the day. So after leaving there, I honestly like went back to the computer and typed in how to start a business into Google. Like I had absolutely like zero idea how or what I was going to do. But then this is also another reason why I'm so passionate about online courses, because I like have experienced the impact it can make from both sides of the fence. So one, as the customer, it was through these online courses that I was coming across from people like Marie Forleo or Amy Porterfield, like podcasts from Pat Flynn and John Lee Dumas, that I was able to go from having like zero idea what I was even thinking, like having no idea what I was going to do, to actually legit starting a business. So not only like you can really change people's lives, and you probably will never have any idea how much you impacted people's lives when you do take your genius and your knowledge and you share it with the world. And then I've also been able to experience it for myself, and then also like time and time again from clients, the impact that it can make from the entrepreneur side. So the financial like unlimited financial opportunities and time, freedom, and flexibility, and being able to work in your zone of genius. It's just a win-win situation, I think, on both parts. So it was after taking those courses that I looked at the business model and I thought, well, you know what, that seems like a really good business. I always heard through those courses and programs, the riches are in the niches, or you have to pick a niche or a specialty. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to be specializing in how to create online courses. And my hypothesis was correct. It did pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then at what stage did you start using Infusionsoft?
Pretty early on. Like, Infusionsoft was one of those things where I'm so grateful for it. But if you had ever known like the complexity of something or how much work went into something before getting started, you would never start anything, like when it comes to business or probably Infusionsoft. So I was kind of had the right level of ignorance when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to set up Infusionsoft for, it was actually my boyfriend's company at that time. And once we were already in it, I'm like, whoa, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. But I loved it. I loved the possibilities and the potential that it brought to the business. And we were able to scale that business from $500,000 a year to, I think now just over 10 million, but like within 2-year period of time, I think we went from 500 to about like 4 million. We would never have done without Infusionsoft. It allowed us to scale all the operations. So early on, to answer your question.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, Nutrition Solutions. Cool. It's like a meal prep company.
That is great. So I guess after checking everything out that I could about this course, everything involved with it was really well planned out and also really well designed. I'm sure there was a pretty big team involved in making all this happen, and then also a lot of planning that went into it. So as a start, would you be able to walk us through some of the planning and preparation that went into this course and how important that was?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Yeah, so I'll kind of like share it. Can you see my screen?
I can, yeah.
Okay, so I'll kind of share this simultaneously because I was even interested, like thinking back of like what all was really involved, because I had been saying, oh, we've been working on this project for about 5 months before we launched it. And then when I actually like went back and thought things through, it had been almost 10 months or something from when we first started getting involved with it until the launch. So it was back in September of 2018 when I initially got that first call about being part of the project. And the first step that I always start with is a vision mapping session. So getting really clear on like what is the end goal, like what is the point, or what would success look like in your eyes for this project. And then a big part of the planning process, like after that, some more ideation and structure and thinking about the gamification, just overall course structure. And then I actually flew out to Jean's office in Scottsdale and we did a VIP day. So a full immersion, really getting clear on the objectives and mapping out all the different scenarios, the user journey. And then from there, I moved to wireframing, prototyping, and then the design prototype, and then into development. So I can expand on any of that you want me to, but those are the main steps. And then user testing, obviously, and launch.
Yeah. How did the course content planning work, I guess, after you had mapped it all out?
Yeah, so the course structure, like the way that I think about your number one goal as a course creator is to expedite the process of getting your customers from where they are to where they want to be with less headache and less stress than they could do on their own. So really first thinking about like, where are your customers now? What's the problem or pain point that they're experiencing that would cause them to look for a solution? And then what is that end goal that you want them to be able to achieve? And then once you know those two steps, now you can create that roadmap for getting there. So I think the big difference between like really successful courses and then just information products, which are almost kind of worthless, is that an online course is more focused and geared around becoming like an implementation program, or it provides a step-by-step, really action-oriented or action-focused game plan from getting your customer from A to Z. Because at the end of the day, all they want is the results. They're not paying for information because we're completely inundated with information. We don't need more information. You can Google anything that you could ever desire, and you'll have a bazillion searches come up, YouTube videos, everything. But the reason why courses are so valuable, like compared to any other modality, like whether it was like a book or like college course or something, is that if you go into it with the focus of really like action orientation and always thinking about what is it that I want my customers to actually do, rather than asking the question, what do they need to know? It will really keep you in that mindset of staying focused on like the end goal. And so that's what this primarily is like, what do we want our customers to be able to achieve at the end of this? And then what's this little roadmap for getting there?
Yeah, that is a really good point. I guess with, it's kind of amazing taking all of the knowledge that Dean and Tony have and then compressing that all into a course. I'm sure they're aware that there's a whole ocean of information out there, and they didn't want to just create another course with a bunch of information that people could watch. They want people to actually take action based on the course and get a result from it.
Yeah, definitely. Like that was something from the very beginning. Like I'm trying to pull up some of these. I use OneNote to doodle everything. And so we have like even like back from here, like the wireframing of the course journey and the action steps. Oh, that's what I was looking for. So I like to draw things out, and it makes me easier to understand or like to visualize how I want users to flow through the course. And so really starting from the very beginning here of like joining the program where they are, and then what are the main steps they need to do in order to achieve that result. Like this became the main section 1, section 2, section 3, and then section 4. But yeah, you're completely right. Like they had 62 years of combined experience between the two of them of running highly, like very, very successful masterminds. And they had this down to a science. But like both Dean and Tony they have already achieved like such level of success. This isn't about the money to them. They really wanted to, like they call it their mission. They want to help make like education or self-education the new norm. And since the very first day, they're like, we don't want this to just be another course that someone buys for $2,000 and then nothing with. Like we really want to see results. And that's why we put such a focus on the user experience and the gamification and the structure of the program. So that was a lot of fun.
That is cool. So as you planned out each module in each section, I guess you're also thinking about the action steps that the end user is going to take along the way?
Yeah, always. So the first step is like, what is that milestone that they need to take? And so for this, Knowledge Business Blueprint is all about extracting your expertise and then running masterminds, or doing this for someone else, for another expert, and you're more the liaison or the operations manager behind it. And so these became those main milestones, like extract it. It was first you need to, and it was funny, on the first call that I was around with Dean, like he just kind of spit it out like, well, you have to extract it, you have to fill it, and you have to run it. I was like, I feel like those are going to be the main modules. And like since that day, like we stuck with those. So extract it, you need a person to get your expertise out of your head, which is one of the hardest parts. Then you need to be able to fill that mastermind. And then you need to actually be able to run it and produce the results. And the fourth is the other segment, which is that knowledge broker. And you're like, now that you've got this down kind of a science, you can also do this for other people. And I started doing that, and I love that part of it. We're going and partnering with other experts or other industry leaders, and maybe they're too busy or they just don't have, that's not their zone of genius. But if I can come in and be like, look, all you have to do is show up and like you do you work in your zone of genius, you teach, and we promote this to your audience, I can handle everything else. That's a total win-win-win situation between their customers, that expert, and then myself. So it's a really cool strategy, like something that I'm sure people have been doing for a while, but this has just put a system behind it, which again is like the whole value behind courses. So I forget what your main first question was, but some about the action step. Can you repeat that?
No, that's great. you answered that question perfectly, and everything you said was great.
Yeah, no, I can further expand on that. Like if you want me to go into actually showing the course.
Yeah, that's kind of the next question here. So do you want to give us an overview of the Knowledge Blueprint course? And
I'm so glad you asked. I'd love to. Yeah, so this is, you can see the screen fine, right? I'll shrink it down a little bit so we can see this. But this is the main homepage. So when I create, or when I explain how courses are structured, it's very similar to a book. So you think of like the homepage is kind of like your table of contents. And then you have the modules, which are like a section in the book. And then you have your lessons, which are like chapters in a section. So, there's one example of gamification. And we can talk about that later. But some of this has been so fun. It's amazing like how excited people get about badges popping up and stuff. But anyway, so these were those main sections. This course actually has an additional layer to it than most courses I create usually do, just because it covers a lot of ground. So there's these 4 sections, and then we actually have the modules within the sections. So, or we call them lessons, but so the lessons and then sessions underneath those. So that first phase is extract it, and then these were those main the lessons behind it. So like secret to success, and that's more about like getting context, getting people's buy-in, getting people pumped up for actually engaging and consuming with the content, because that's your number one goal. Is like you have to always be reselling your users on like why this is important for them to follow through, why this is like the right time, and continuing to keep up that motivation throughout the program. So that's the main purpose of that main first lesson. And then it's moving on to like your expertise, your ideal client, how to use what Dean is amazing at is a methodology called Story Teach Tool. So how you run a mastermind really successfully with keeping it really engaging. So yeah, I could go through the whole, I mean, we could just show a picture of the outline, but this is that outline.
Would you be able to walk us through any of the other areas of the site?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so
how the other WordPress plugins are involved in.
Yeah, totally. So this is, so that was that main first homepage. We then go to module 1. So I like always starting with an intro video where you're kind of giving them a rundown of like what's going to be in that module. And then here we have the different lessons within that module. So I'll kind of point out some of like the features that are really important when it comes to creating a well-designed course that might be overlooked, like if we wasn't explaining it. But one of the things that I think is really not enough emphasis is put on it, or the importance, is navigation and making it extremely easy for your customers to always know where they are in the process and then easily get to something where however they want to and as quickly and easily as possible. Because I've taken a ton of courses, and I've really noticed that when the infrastructure and the architecture isn't laid out correctly, it's amazing. It gives you like that almost like anxiety feeling or anxious feeling if you can't figure out what it is that you've already completed when you come back to the course, where you are in the process, not knowing how much longer it is until you're done. It's just like, I don't know what it is about our brains, but most people, they just need to know. They need to know where they are in the process in order to like kind of relax and be like, okay, I know now, and now I can be engaged and focused on it. It's like if you ever watched a video that doesn't show you how much is left in the video or how long it is. The whole time I'm like, well, how much longer is this? Like, what if it's an hour? What if it's 5 minutes? Like, I don't know what's going on. And so we've incorporated the like navigation in so many different parts of it. So here, these are all clickable to the actual lesson. And this also shows the progress of whether or not it's been completed or not. On here, on the images themselves, they have check marks, and these are all done with Memberium tagging. So when they complete something, they're tagged in Memberium and Infusionsoft, and then that displays the check mark. Or I'll go to one where I haven't finished in a minute, and you can just see what it would look like. And then then we have this navigation on the side, and then we have this whole course outline. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways that you can easily see like your progress. and then get to something. I've heard amazing feedback about this type of this navigation here. Like people love this. And when I go through the course, I find that I use this all the time too. It's just so easy to find, especially in a course of this length. Like it's a pretty massive course. Everything in one spot's been really useful. So if something hasn't been completed, it's grayed out. And again, this is all controlled by Memberium. If it has been completed, then it turns gold. And then another really important piece, again, from the UX and design feature is mobile responsive. And I think that's something that is often overlooked. Like it's one thing to like, yeah, it's mobile responsive, it reduces screen size, but what's the actual experience? And so we looked at this and it was like, this is just too long. Like it's just getting too much scrolling. Like it's a little overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So for mobile, then we reverted to the slider, which is just like people are really, this is a really intuitive way of using your phone now, just because most people are using iPhones and everything with Apple is built with that slider scrolling feature. And so I think this has worked really well.
That's cool. Also, then you can kind of just swipe with your finger.
Yeah, so you just, if you can see my phone, yeah, swipe, swipe, so it's easy. And then the individual lesson pages are like that as well. So let me go to one that I haven't, because I think I've completed all these, the user that I'm logged in. I'm going to go to one where I haven't completed everything. Okay, so the wagon wheel. I'll make this bigger again. Okay, so you'll see here that now these are not checked off because they haven't been completed yet. And here at the end, we have a bonus that's locked because the bonus is only unlocked after you pass the quiz at the end of the lesson. And so this, here the check marks, checked, not checked. So when we go to one of the lessons, this is what I was originally going to show you, is how you stay really focused on, or you incorporate other features within your course that make it easier for your customers to take action or faster. And I know there's a lot of people that love lists, and just like the dopamine shot that you get from being able to check off something on a list. So when I create courses, I always recommend that that we include a checklist at the end of it. And so the thought process there is that you have just consumed this information, like you just learned something new, and then now you want to be able to synthesize that for your users on what are the most important what are the most important points that were mentioned throughout that course, and like what you actually need to do now in order to implement what it is that you learned. Because your number one goal of creating a course is to get your customers the results you've promised. And when you do that, then you're also like simultaneously going to be a lot more profitable, because at the end of the day, like that's what's going to increase your customer lifetime value. Because when someone's achieved the results that you promised from that first course, it's going to be a no-brainer when you promote like your premium offer or the next course. Like obviously they're going to buy it because they got the results that you needed from the first one. And we never run out of problems. We just create new ones or better problems or bigger problems as we continue to like get bigger or more successful in life. So that's a side note, but like that's another thing that I really keep in mind is like, okay, if we're successful here, what's the next problem that exists for someone that has successfully achieved this result? Because now, again, like problems don't go away, they just change. And so action steps are one, or checklists are one thing that I love to incorporate. And then also any type of worksheets or tools that you can include, again, to make it easier for your customers to take action or make it faster. And so swipe files are great, templates are great, case studies, other resources. I mean, there's so many options there. And then you want to think about like how people like to consume content. Like there's some people that like watching videos. There's some people that just want to be able to download the audio and listen to it like on the train or subway on the way back and forth from work. And honestly, like that's how I consumed so many of those courses and programs when I was first starting my business was driving to work for an hour and then driving back to work for an hour. Yeah, like that's a lot of time in the car.
Yeah, passive learning is the best. You can't read a book when you're driving in your car, but you can listen to a podcast, or when you're doing your chores around the house or running errands, you know, you can listen to podcasts. So that's great. So yeah, with all of the lessons had a ton of great action steps and additional content included with them. Would you be able to talk about some of the bonus content and the how your points, how the point system works with this site?
Yes. So with the point system, it's set up, again, everything was built with Memberium. So it's Memberium HTTP math posts, if I'm saying that correctly, where when a lesson or a session's completed in LearnDash, so when I mark this complete, then it's going to apply a tag to the Infusionsoft account and run that Memberium HTTP post and award 50 points to the user. So I believe this was just at 3,100, and now it's 3,150 because I just completed that session. And then as you complete the sessions, your points continue to go up. And at the end of every single lesson, there is a quiz. And then when you complete the quiz, you earn a credit. And the credit is kind of like, think of it as money that you can use to purchase other bonuses and rewards. So there's two things that happen at the end of each lesson or after passing the quiz. First, you unlock this bonus. And so it's all different types of content from Russell, Tony, and Dean for these that would be valuable to the user. And then there's also, which we called power moves. So additional content that can help you, again, that would still be valuable. And that's what you use your credits for to purchase. So if I go over to my power moves, these are things that, so you'll see the ones that I have not purchased yet are locked. And the ones that I have purchased as my credits, I have 0 credits right now because I've used them to purchase these these bonuses. But if I had 2 credits, I would be able to purchase this one. A button would pop up that says buy. And so maybe later I can take 2 quizzes and then show you the process.
That is great. And then so I guess we should add when you're clicking that mark complete button and the whole way that the courses and lessons are structured, that comes from LearnDash that's on the site, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everything's built. LearnDash is the LMS, so controls the learning progression and allows for the quizzes. And then Memberium as a membership plugin that integrates with Infusionsoft.
Got it. So the other really cool page on the site was this kind of achievements and kind of course overview page. For the achievements, did you use, was that BadgeOS or was there something else involved in that?
No, this again is just straight design in Memberium.
So based on the tags?
Yep, tags that if you had completed all of the lessons within a module, so you had that tag for every one of the lessons, then this would unlock it would change the color of the badge. And so I can go to the achievements page as well. And so these are grayed out because they haven't been completed yet. So the first one's like you started the course, you unlocked your first bonus, you passed your first quiz, you unlocked a power move, which is that credit system, module 1, module 2, completed the course, module 4, module 3. And then those are displayed also on the account page here. The other cool thing is the levels. And so as your points increase, and I can kind of explain like some of the psychology behind like the different gamification features later when we get to that, but your levels will increase here. And this is something I modeled after Audible that I noticed if you ever listen to Audible, and they actually don't do that great of a job promoting it because I listen to it all the time. I wasn't even aware they had this, but as soon as I did find out that they had this, it made me want to listen to 88 more hours of Audible really quickly because I was like, that was how much was left until I was the master level. And my type A personality, I was just like, I just want to be the best. So
right.
It does work, or I'm crazy, one or the other. I'm not ruling that one out either, but I think it does work. And then here's the outline that you had mentioned earlier, again, with really clear, like what's been completed, check marks, and then what hasn't been completed with little circles. So it's not complete. And if I was to pass this course, like I've completed the whole thing, then the certification will pass or will show up here as
Got
well.
it. And then those certifications were those issued through LearnDash?
Yep. So the main certificate, like the PDF certification that has the user's name and everything, that is through LearnDash. But then we also built one just custom. I'll see if I can actually go to it. That after you complete it, then you're redirected to this page, because I think there's a lot more fun that you could have with it than just getting a PDF. And so they get the badge, and then you can view the certificate, and it's more interactive. Their name would show up right here with Memberium, but I'm logged in as an admin here, so it's not showing it. And then here, again, because I'm logged in as admin here, would be the actual PDF that you can download, and then something else. I can't remember what goes there, but something else that's being controlled by Memberium that's hidden right now.
Very cool. Would you be able to share anything else about how LearnDash helped with this site, or how it was used?
Yeah, so the LearnDash's main role was, one, the outline functionality, and then really the learning progression as far as just moving through the courses, and then the quizzes at the end of each course, or at the end of each lesson. That was the main part of it. I believe, I can't remember now, I'm pretty sure the progress bar here is LearnDash as well. So I go back and forth. Sometimes I use Memberium, depending on the needs, and then if I can, then most of the time I'll use LearnDash for the progress bar. But sometimes it doesn't. I need to customize it for whatever reason. So then I'll have to use Memberium's shortcode to do that.
Got it. And yeah, that's what Memberium's great at, is being really flexible and powerful in what you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much that you can't do with it. It's more so the hard part is thinking it through, like how is this going to work? And so originally we were going to try to use like another gamification plugin to do some of this, because there are things out there. But when you have this many users, like even more so than like any other course, you really need to think about like the weight and how well that plugin's built. And unfortunately, a lot of those other plugins are extremely heavy, like more so than I even ever realized, that they're constantly like running scripts in the background. And I'm not like a hardcore developer. Like I'm more of a makeshift developer. I know enough to get myself in trouble. So I couldn't even like tell you like the terminology well. I'll let my developers do that part of it. But I just know that the one we were trying to use was running so many scripts in the background that it was just like bringing everything to a halt. And so I very quickly had to like think through very quickly how we could rebuild all of that functionality, like the levels, the points, the progress with Memberium. And then it didn't take, I'm like, oh, we could just do that. Like I thought it through. I'm like, and then I was able to like rebuild all the functionality within an hour. Once I knew how to get there, once I thought through the process. So the whole point of that is like, yeah, it's completely flexible. You can do anything with it. You just have to think how you want it to function.
That is amazing. So I guess in terms of other challenges, what were some of the more challenging parts of building this site?
One thing that made this a little bit more unique is that it was freeform. It was a freeform course, meaning that you can take the course in any order. It didn't require you to take it in a linear format, which would be fine. But with a lot of this functionality, let me go back to one of these modules or lessons. It was simple things, which seems simple, but then like it wasn't that simple to try to figure out. Is, well, how can we redirect users to the bonus after they complete the quiz right away? versus going just directly to the next module. Because then there's a good chance like they would never even notice that the bonus was unlocked, or like might not have gone to, like back to it to consume it, and then therefore like devalued it. And so there's just like customizations that needed to be done in a lot of different places to get LearnDash to function kind of outside of like its natural norm, like natural behavior. So going to a different page isn't in LearnDash's natural like capabilities. So it was just like figuring out the coding that needed to be done in the back end to get that to happen. That was the main one. And then just always really keeping in mind like for us speed, like heaviness and weight of additional plugins. So like we wanted to be able to use BuddyPress to be able to have like for people to change their images. Right now it's pulling in the Gravatar. So it's using Memberium to pull in the customer Gravatar. But BuddyPress is another thing that's like pretty heavy. And so there wasn't enough of a benefit to put that weight on the site. So we opted out to like get rid of things like that. And then just like the organization of creating a course of this size with a lot of different people involved. But I've kind of got that down to a science now, that before that could have been like a huge, I wouldn't say nightmare, but very challenging. But now the product management system that we use with Airtable is just, it's so flexible that that's not really an issue anymore.
Yeah, I'd imagine planning out a course of this size would have been quite the challenge. So I guess when it comes to planning out your course content or just a course in general, what advice do you think is important for course creators to know?
I think it's like really getting a clear project plan in place. So, I mean, no matter what stage of where you are in this process, like you're creating a massive course like this, like launching it with 16,000 people, or you're creating your very first course, you still need to have like an understanding of what you actually need to create, and like a workflow is the word I was looking for, a systematized workflow for creating that content. And so at the end of the day, when you look past all the glitz and glamour, like the gamification and the design and everything, it comes down to the same core elements regardless of what course it is. Like I've created courses for high frequency stock trading, singing coaches, courses like this, maternity programs. It doesn't matter the content, you're still creating the exact same deliverables. And so we'll go to what those deliverables actually are. And those are, 1, it's your video, so your video lesson. And then 2, it's your resources or other tools like worksheets. So the first step is like obviously like the outline. If you try to create course content without creating an outline, it's like taking a pile of money and lighting a match and just throwing it on the money, because you're going to throw away so much time, money, resources, energy, and opportunity costs of postponing the like launch time, because you're reworking things that wouldn't have to have been done if you had spent the time, your due diligence, getting your outline squared away. So I'm like extremely passionate, or like adamant is more the right word about that process. It's like you need to have your outline done before you even think about creating content. And then after you have that outline, then know that for every single lesson, you're going to have a video to create, and then you're going to have, I guess it wouldn't have to be every lesson, but as often as possible, a resource or a tool. And so the workflow then becomes, okay, first, map out the worksheets and resources, because I think that keeps you really ingrained in like staying action oriented, like with your focus on what do I want my customers actually to do. So that's why I like starting with the worksheet, and then scripting the video lesson, then creating any other slides, like a slide deck that needs to be done for your course, and then you can film and edit your course. And those are those 5 like main steps that you need to do for every lesson. And so once you know that, then you can map out the process for how can I schedule this, and then is there anything that I can delegate out of this. So if you're creating your first course, like there's a lot of people that do all of this by themselves. And then there's courses like this one where there is probably a different person for every single one of those pieces, or multiple people, like copywriters and videographers, and then a video editor, and then a graphic designer, and then a website designer and developer, project manager, launch strategist, all those maybe pieces. But when it comes down to the end of the day of actually the content, like it's always the same. And the workflow, I think that's the most efficient workflow: worksheet, script, slides, film, edit, and batch your filming and editing so you can get a lot more done in a lot less time.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's a lot simpler when you put it that way.
Yeah, it makes it a lot simpler and then without having that workflow or understanding it to that granular level, it feels a lot more overwhelming. And I think anytime, or at least I've noticed this myself, when you start feeling really overwhelmed, it's not really that you don't have the capability of doing something, or it's not that you're not capable of it. It's that you don't have enough clarity on what exactly it is that you need to do next. Like you've chunked it too big to where it's not something that you can take, like you can't sit down and like do that next action step because you're not clear enough on what that next action step is. And so anytime I feel that overwhelmed feeling, I'm like, oh, let's do a brain dump or a mind map, and really get things down to a more granular level. So even if it was the smallest bit of action, that's better than no action. Like I'm a lot closer to the end goal than someone that just stops.
That's true. So taking a step back for a minute, what was also really interesting about this launch was how many JV partners and affiliates were involved.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. My inbox was literally flooded every day with emails from almost every marketer that I know.
Yeah.
And so
my mom was following the launch too. Like she just usually doesn't follow like any of this kind of stuff. I don't think she's ever like even didn't know what a launch was, but she kept sending me emails. She's like, I got another email. I got 5 emails today. Why do I get so many from like all these different people? I'm like, I know, Mom, you're going to get a lot.
That's great. So I guess you had also built a custom affiliate site for the JV and affiliate side of this launch.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to give us a look at that and talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So when you're running a JV, the JV side of this, and any launch where it's a big focus, it's a huge part of it. I think it's also, that's something else is really underestimated, is how much time and attention not needs to be done, but should be done in order to create a really effective affiliate or strategic partner launch. And Dean and his team and Tony, they did an amazing job with it. Like they did so many things. Like they were so attentive in the private Facebook group for the partners. Any partner that signed up, they sent them this like huge box that was all masterminded out with like swag. So t-shirt, hats, pen, mug. And then the internet was just like flooded with pictures from the partners wearing their mastermind.com like gear. So that just shows like the reciprocity, like people love. Even doesn't have to be, I'm sure that wasn't like super expensive, but it meant a lot. Like it was just like exciting. It wasn't what you were expecting. And that's something that Dean and his team does really well. So yeah, the partner site, going back to your question, again, was built with Memberium. And then a big thing that we did with Memberium was actually the first time we've ever used it before, was Memberium's leaderboard. So for partner leaderboard, who this was constantly automatically updated. And so the partners were in here just like refreshing like crazy every time, because not only did they want to see like their numbers, but they also did an awesome job with the prizes. And so the top 10 affiliates are going to fly on Tony's private jet to Fiji, and then they're masterminding with Dean, Tony, and the 10 top partners for like 4 days or something.
Oh, wow.
As well as a ton of other really good prizes. So those, let me see if I can have up. So this is kind of an example of the part of the leaderboard design that I was showing you. This is my design files. Let me see if I'm looking. So, I mean, it works pretty much the exact same way as any other site. Like you would log in to the members area, and then we just want to make it really easy for your customers to be able to access all the swipe information. And by that, I mean like the emails for the list, the promotional content. So they did a good job with creating like Instagram story, short videos, Facebook posts, Pinterest graphic, everything that you can imagine, really. And then copy and headlines for emails, Instagram posts, social media, or Facebook posts, and everything of that nature, as well as like listing out the prizes and the leaderboard. So the first part of that would be like the sale. I wouldn't call it a sales page, but like your invitation, inviting people to join the mission, become a partner, and that's what this is. Mm-hmm. Getting really clear on what the prizes are. If we can. So the first place winner, like $200,000 in cash, or 1 year mastermind into Tony and Dean's $250,000 a year mastermind going to Fiji. And then second place, $75,000. I mean, so there were really big prizes. There's partners that made over $1 million on this promotion, which is insanity. Like when you really think about it. But yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, go ahead.
No, that is pretty crazy. Do you know what percentage of the sales were driven by the affiliates?
A huge percentage of them. I think the end, I don't have the exact number. I think it was like 55% were, all the sales were from affiliates. And then the rest were from like Tony, Russell, and Dean, as well as like ad spend.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And
then on the technical side of the affiliate stuff, that was all handled by Infusionsoft?
Yeah, it was kind of, so Infusionsoft was the main hub for the affiliates. And then we also used affiliate, the same affiliate, FortiPay. Who are the affiliate dash is what it's called. So the same owners that has FortiPay and the billing management system, we use that, and that did great. But I think there's a lot of room in the market for an affiliate portal or program that can really do everything that it needs to do, or like allows the customization. Because like I said, it's such a huge part and huge important piece of a lot of these launches and programs, and also takes a ton of like management time, because I don't think there's a solution that like really is all inclusive out there. So they actually ended up building something custom. So it's kind of like built off of Memberium, or not Memberium, built off of Infusionsoft, and then a custom portal for the Evergreen model going forward that can do like everything that we need it to do, like only show sales for specific products, allow customers to create, or partners to create links for every type of program or every type of source they wanted to, whether they're doing like a YouTube link, or they can track very easily like where their sales are coming from. You can do that kind of stuff like with Infusionsoft, but it's not simple. It's like, and like when it comes to this many people, like having to explain things and hand-holding because it's not as clear as it could be, it's really time consuming. So they were better off creating it custom, but I think there's a huge opportunity there still, open opportunity for whoever wants to tap in on that one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Everything in this course was so well planned out and really rich. There's all the action steps and checklists that you've shown us. These are included with all the lessons and downloads. I'm sure all of this helped work together to make this a really engaging course. Would you be able to share a little bit about the game theory that was behind all the gamification that was included in the course?
Yeah, of course. So gamification has been something that I've recently started to like be super interested in, and really dissecting like why things work. I love psychology in general, but really like what makes good gamification, because there's a lot of times that people will try to like just throw on badges or a point system, but without a real strategy backing it. And so again, like I like to like start from the very beginning, like what is the goal here? And at the end of the day, the goal still always comes back to getting your customers to achieve the results that you want them to. And then how can you incorporate different elements to make it more likely that that's actually going to happen? And so the first thing is like the only way that your customers ever have the chance of achieving those results is if they actually implement what it is that they learn. And that's one of the biggest, like, I would say struggle, or it's something that you really want to be cognizant about and plan for, is like your job as a really good course creator to set yourself apart from all of the other masses out there is like, how can you incorporate as many things as you can to make it more likely that they are going to take action and implement. And so gamification is a great way to do that, along with what I had mentioned here. So I call these action igniters, like the action steps and the tools, and then stick strategies, how you can incorporate things like quizzes or opportunities to review, retain, and reflect on the information that you learned, because that's when you actually move from like just short-term superficial learning into more like hardcore learning, or deep learning, or actually changing a behavior. The more that you can review information, reflect on it, the much more likely you are to actually retain it on a long term. And then the third main component is what I call engagement amplifiers. Like, how can you increase the likelihood of people engaging and consuming course content? So we'll go into gamification. Like, that's one of the pieces of it. So knowing that, like, if that's the purpose, the gamification serves, they're like almost like ethical bribes for getting your customers to do what you want them to do. Of course, like, you're only doing things like that are good for them too. You're just helping them get the result. And so all the games model the exact same game theory from back when I played like Oregon Trail when I was like 6 years old. I don't know why anyone would ever play that game. Like, all you do is you just watch this cart go down the Oregon Trail, and then people die if they get some type of random food poisoning or something. I love that game. Yeah. Or Yoshi's Island, or like Sims was another one that I was thinking about recently. Like, why is that fun? Like, you're just creating people in a house, and then they all have certain like similarities, and that's what it's called, game mechanics. I want to kind of pull up this. So because I'm somewhat of like a nerd, I started like looking at apps or courses that did this really well, and then screenshotted and figured out like, how are they all incorporating it? And Nike Run App is one that actually, I think they do an amazing job. I hate running with a freaking passion, but I recently did a Spartan race, so I needed to be able to run. And this type of stuff, it did work. Like, it was effective for me. So being able, okay, so let me back up for a second. So the game mechanics that are used in this, which are gonna be the same as like all the other ones I show you, is you have some version of points, you have a level system, and then you have the ability to unlock bonuses or awards. And each of these mechanics they leverage psychological triggers. So leveraging just like our human natural tendencies, and some of the need for autonomy, the need, competition is a huge one, the need for significance, achievement, curiosity, rewards, ownership, and then one that I think is huge is community and connection. And so if you can incorporate social learning or build a community behind your course, you're going to have a competitive advantage that is insurmountable. Like, everything else being the same, if it was your course and then someone else that was equal, but you have a community along with it, like an actual engaged community and culture, the other people don't stand a chance. Like, it's just not, you're going to blow them out of the water, because this is it's the strongest human need that there is. And it's something that I think is lacking, that people are yearning for even more now than ever. So, I mean, I like the Facebook group. I didn't even mention that. The Facebook group, the community behind the Knowledge Business Blueprint, is absolutely amazing. Like, I can't even go into that Facebook group because it's like a time suck. I do, but I have to be very cognizant of how long, or like put a stopwatch on, because I will be in there for like hours reading people's stories and like crying from the support and the community, and just the amazing stories. And then 2 hours later, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and need to turn the phone off. But anyway, back to that, like the way that Nike does that, their version of points is miles. So however many miles you run, that's like the points that keep going up. Their levels here are based on how many miles that you run. So your yellow level, orange, green, and then they unlock bonuses. And so below here I have like the level, or what it actually is, the game mechanic, and then what psychological trigger it's using. So for levels, it's using competition, significance, and achievement. Badges, unlocking badges, it gives anytime you do that, it's again kind of the need for completion and achievement as well. You get that dopamine shot when you see the badge pop up. And then, yeah, the need for completion, like it irks a lot of people if you have some of these badges are open. And then unlocking bonuses. So this is like the credit system that we incorporated within mastermind.com, that they could use the credits to unlock bonuses. Nike does the same thing. And then always thinking about also like, what are your other revenue streams like that you can incorporate within some of these gamification. And so they do a great job. Nike, this is like really creative, I think. You add your shoe to the app, and then your shoe, you can track how many miles you ran on your shoe. And then, it makes it super easy to buy new shoes on this app too. Imagine that. The progress tracking, creating profiles, and then they do an amazing job with the community and like connecting groups of people around. So this is the same for, if you actually pay attention now, like you'll probably be surrounded with you are surrounded with gamification that you just might not even realize. Like Facebook is probably the best version of it because it's kind of like it's kind of subtle. You're not even really like aware that it's gamification, but it is. Like their level of points is how many friends you have, or maybe I toss back and forth. I don't know if points be more the friends or if it's how many likes. I think that might be better. Like how many likes do you get on a comment, or on Instagram, like how many hearts do you get or likes on a post. Maybe levels is friends. I have to think about that one more so. But this is the Audible one that I was telling you earlier. Like this is my Audible. At that time, I had 155 hours left to go to become a master. I don't know when I took this screenshot. Now I have 88. It tracks. So their level of points is how many hours have been listened to. And then that converts to levels. Then you have your badges. It keeps going on and on like that. And so we modeled mastermind.com from this as well.
That is cool. And I should mention there's a video on Megan's site where she dives into this a little bit more. We'll include a link below this video where you can check that out.
Yep. Yeah, I go into a lot more detail, and I'm not going to go all into it, but the other one that I started looking at, which I didn't realize, dating apps do an amazing job at gamification and using psychological triggers to keep you engaged. Like it was something I didn't even pay attention to. I mean, I've never really used them before. And this is, I was looking into it because I read something about the founder. She was a woman, and like her strategy behind it is really cool. And then I got intrigued, like, why are these in a baseball theme, or what does the league mean? And it's really interesting. Like what I highlighted all of this here is anything in yellow is showing you the baseball theme. And I think that's a huge part that makes everything like your branding like come together really well. Like your strategy just feel really cohesive is everything behind their app. And the same thing goes for courses, is if you can revolve it around a theme, it makes it so much more powerful. So their theme is baseball. They call like your score the league score. Upsells are called game changers. When you have a match, it's called a home run. Use your tickets to increase your odds. There are different levels of membership is like an ownership level. And then they have like minor leagues, major leagues, all-stars, and then owner plans. So it's just really cool how that's another thing, like pay attention to the themes behind things.
Yeah, gamification really is everywhere around us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it definitely is. And so we did the same thing with Mastermind I've like used all of this to kind of help structure the gamification behind mastermind.com. And so using the badges, the power moves, unlocking bonuses, all of that comes into play in the actual program that we went through earlier.
Going back to what you had said about creating a sense of community and connection, what do you think course creators or membership site owners can do to create more of a sense of community and connection within their sites?
Like the first one is, from everything that I've seen, the most effective is private Facebook groups. So unless there's a real reason that you can't be on Facebook, and there's a few clients I've had like in some industries that it's more difficult that they can't because maybe it's more of a like much more corporate and they don't want people being on Facebook. But even now, like huge corporate, even they are on Facebook now too, because it's just part of, it's so ingrained in every like marketing and communication. There's very few clients I've had that cannot have a private Facebook group behind it. And so I think that's going to be your most powerful because it's so ingrained in just our natural, like or it's such a habit to us now that it's so easy to interact and engage in comments because you're in that app anyway. So that would be number one, is if you can create a Facebook group. Two, if you can do any type of live office hours or like group coaching calls using something like this, like Zoom, although you're not face to face, it does allow you to build so much more rapport and connection and your community members' relationship, just being able to see each other, like their faces on camera, instead of just like a static profile picture. Mm-hmm. Like you actually feel like you know people. There's people that I've like done business with for years that I'd never met in person. And then like, that's why I love going to places like Traffic and Conversion or conferences, and you'll be talking to them like you've known each other for years and you're really good friends. And then you realize this is the first time you actually ever met in person. It's kind of crazy. And then that would get me to the third thing. If you can incorporate a live event into your program. So a lot of the big programs do this, like Jeff Walker's Product Launch Formula, Todd Herman's 90-Day Year, Ryan Levesque's Ask Method Masterclass. There's reasons for that. Like one, it allows you to add that as an additional bonus that has a huge value, like perceived and real value to your course, is giving a ticket away to that live event. And then now that $2,000 price point doesn't seem that high because you're like, oh, well, I had to go to the conference, which is awesome. And then that also like really ingrains and builds that connection. Like everything that you've done throughout the program, it will never equate or never be the same as meeting in person. So if you can now add that in-person opportunity, it's huge. And then if you do also want to sell anything, like your upper level masterminds, your premium offers, your coaching program, your certification program, live's obviously like the best way to do that. So people can really like ask the questions that they need to, be fully engaged and immersed in the environment. And aside from that, the last tip, I can go on forever, is that your community and the culture really starts with the leader. And so as the course creator, like you need to be really involved in that community. Even at a certain point, it becomes self-sustaining because there's a certain number of people in the group and it's really interactive, and people are answering each other's questions. But still, it starts, like the culture, the foundation of the culture and the community that you create, it starts with you as a leader. And so like Tony and Dean have done an amazing job with that, with the Knowledge Business Blueprint group. Dean goes live, does a Facebook Live once a week. His team is in there commenting on everyone's questions. And then Tony will do that. And Tony never does that. Like I know, I've followed Tony for 6 years. I probably know his entire life story. He never does Facebook Lives other than in that group. So that's cool. It's not all the time, but it's like every once in a while. And those are my main tips.
No, those are all really useful to know. I'm glad you went on.
Yeah, I could go on and on, but we'll be here all day.
So as I mentioned, we'll include a link to your other video where you talk a little bit more about the process of how you designed this site and the process of building it.
Mm-hmm.
That link will be included below this video. And then if someone wants to learn more from you and find out more about what you're doing, where can they go to find that out?
Yeah, my website is probably the easiest, megankharrison.com. And then my social media is all the same, like Instagram. I'm always doing like Instagram stories and Facebook stories. So YouTube videos, they're all Megan, like at Megan K. Harrison. And those are pretty much the main ways that you can get in touch with me.
Okay, great. And then I guess lastly, if someone's interested in hiring you to build their course, what should they know and how can they go ahead and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the main ways that the offers I have for working with creating courses is like our zone of genius and specialty is primarily on building the membership platform and site. So if you're ready to build a course, we'll handle like basically like what I just showed you through this, all the design and development of the platform. And there's two different like levels of it. We have a more productized version of it that is at a lower price point, and then this is what I would call more like customized, where it starts with that base level project, and then you can add on as much gamification or functionality as you need to. And then from that, we also have Online Courses Academy. So if you want to take I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't have my own courses and programs. Like, I'm so adamant about it. I couldn't not have it for myself. So Online Courses Academy is my flagship program that teaches you how to create and build and launch your course from beginning to end if it was something that you wanted to do on your own. And so there's a member press version for people that aren't using Infusionsoft, and then the Memberium version for people that are using Infusionsoft for that phase 2, the building side. And lastly, like to get more of like my time consulting, that's when I would do, it's either just in that Facebook group, so the live office hours. I don't do one-on-one consulting anymore like I used to, but I do still provide VIP strategy days. So like where I flew out to Dean's office and we had that full day immersion, mapping out the course, or then clients will fly here and we'll do the same thing here at my office. And so you have one day to get everything out of your head, structured, so that you can go take that as a game plan with your team and actually like know everything that needs to be done step by step. And those are pretty much it. The last thing would be, if you are interested in the Knowledge Business Blueprint, I'm a partner for this as well, because why wouldn't I be? And so if you purchase the program through my partnership, my link, then you'll also get access to phase 1 of Online Courses Academy, which is $700, phase 1 of my course. So they go hand in hand, course creation and mastermind. So it's a perfect marriage between the two.
And I guess I should say we'll include all those links directly below this video. And thanks again, Megan, for your time. We really appreciate you sharing everything that you did with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I could talk about it forever. I love Memberium. Like I preach you guys, like I can sing your praises forever. So I'm always happy to connect.
All right. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.